All right, good morning, everyone. And for those of you joining us live, as well as anybody watching the replay after the fact, welcome to today's session. We got a special guest today, so it's going to be a good one. Well, not that the others weren't good, but it's going to be another good one. Speaking of replays, I've been getting quite a few messages from folks who are unable to locate the replays. Remember, during this live, we are making those replays available for 24 hours after the fact. And if you cannot find them, you can always email me, Brandon at investor-mastermind.com. But always check your spam or promotions folder first. And sometimes your email inbox will have a filter where you can click on all emails and it'll show you everything. So it should be there. If you registered, we are sending you all of those daily emails just to like recap what we talked about and to make those replays available. All right. So that being said, we are going to dig right in today. And as always, we got the Q&A open as we go. If you have thoughts, comments, questions about anything we're talking about, you can drop those in the Q&A and we'll kind of filter how we get through those as we go through the session. We've been talking a little bit about, day one was foundations, basically setting yourself up for success. We talked a lot about, hey, open loop learning, that some things are going to come your way. Day one, two, three, even some more today, where you go, I don't quite grasp this fully yet. And that's okay. Like, sit with that, welcome the discomfort, welcome that cognitive dissonance that your brain goes, how do we resolve this immediately? Well, you don't necessarily need to resolve it immediately. But as we go through this whole week, it's not always a perfect linear path. Instead, we have to like fit all the pieces together, and you might find that one piece fits before another piece, and that's okay. And today, to kind of help guide us through all of these things that will be involved in the crypto journey, as well as decentralized finance, creating positions, creating cash flow from those digital assets, and then, of course, deciding what to do with that cash flow. We've got special guest Nick Peterson here today. Now, many of you probably have stumbled upon or spent significant time with Nick in the past from his various trainings and educations, maybe a live in-person event, consulting, whatnot, that you might have interacted with him at some point. For many of you, though, this will be the first time you meet Nick. And it's one of these things where it's difficult for me to give like an intro, but let me just say that much of what Nick taught in the past and to this day has greatly influenced my approach, not only to investing, but to business building and to life in general. So, what we're going to do is talk about some principles that apply across multiple categories or multiple spheres of life and how that kind of plays in, specifically around human behavior and why we act the way that we do. And as we, make an effort to kind of catch ourselves when we're starting to behave irrationally or to behave in a way that is not in alignment with what we say we want. So, a lot of what he taught 3.5-ish years ago ended up becoming the foundations of what I now teach in the mastermind and what we're going through here today. Okay. So when we talk about creating an environment where it's a hedged play, where you can mitigate your risk, where you can gain an advantage by asymmetric risk reward, asymmetric to the upside, all of these principles kind of come into the circle at some point. And yeah, we originally I took what he was teaching and kind of modified it a little bit, and here we are today. So anyway, I don't want to say too much because Nick's the kind of guy that once you hang out with him for a little bit, you start to go, oh, okay, I'm starting to understand what this guy's all about. So with that said, Nick, are you there? I see you're on mute, but
I am here. Can you hear me?
awesome. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Um, yeah, I guess to kick off, I was thinking that we could chat a little bit about just your experience observing human behavior, and if it's relevant, in the context of crypto specifically, because I know that you observed hundreds, if not thousands, of people operating in this space, and maybe how it's brought to the forefront some of the other principles and frameworks that you generally work with.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So, first of all, for everybody that knows me already, hello. And for those that don't, hopefully I can provide some value and something, provide something useful. And again, to Brandon's point, uh, get comfortable with open loops. A lot of the stuff that I talk about is stuff that you'll try to make sense of quickly. And our brains do that, which is actually one of the reasons people get destroyed at crypto, is they try to make sense of it quickly. Now, blockchain, first of all, there's a distinction. You have the technology that's like blockchain, stores data in blocks instead of columns and rows. And then you have the cryptocurrencies. We could consider those the assets that are stored and transferred on the blockchain. And then you have crypto. And when people say crypto, typically they're talking about one of those two things or the third thing, which is buying crypto assets and for investment purposes, short term, medium term, long term, whatever their preference is. The problem is we say crypto and we do not delineate between those three things, and they are three very different things. So already you get into this, what we call the rocky road. When people are talking about crypto, if you ask somebody about crypto, if somebody asks you about crypto, and nobody stops and says, well, what specifically are you talking about? You're already in trouble because you're going to have six people at a table talking about crypto, having six different conversations, thinking they're having one, and then they're all going to get pissed off at each other later on because you said this. So, well, I thought you were talking about something other than what you were talking about. So the first step in all of this, in my mind, is clarifying what we're actually talking about. Now, in this sense, I have a pretty good idea because I know Brandon's strategy. I think it's brilliant, and he's taken some of the stuff I was doing and made it way better. Stayed on top of the tools. Uh, it's incredible. So that's the first thing I observed when I got into the micro caps. I've been doing larger caps. I mean, I've been buying Bitcoin forever. But we get into the micro caps and these Telegram groups and these Discords. And the first realization is, huh, I'm pretty sure I'm watching 100 people think they're talking about one thing and they're talking about 100 different things. No wonder it's difficult to figure out what's going on. Then it's, there's no easy way to identify who is competent and who has authority. Interesting. Uh, and when that happens, you get a lot of group think. You get people bouncing around looking for confirmation bias, and that's also dangerous. Now, what crypto does, especially 3 years ago, is this all happens. These are all things that humans have always done, but it happens at a rate that is very difficult to fathom in the crypto space. You get extreme highs, extreme lows, extreme fear, extreme euphoria. Sometimes you get extreme fear and extreme euphoria simultaneously. So you can go the whole gamut of human emotions and cognitive distortions in like 20 minutes. I like that was why I really started watching. So then the next question is, okay, how do we maintain a state of sobriety about all of this? And especially when you first get into it, you don't know about the technical side of it. So sobriety starts with self. Like, are you clear on who you are, what you are, your personality, what you're trying to accomplish? Because learning, as you guys probably know, learning the tech side is going to take time. However, there's an opportunity to look in the mirror and get to know yourself. And if you can stabilize that it'll make learning the rest much easier. So that's kind of where I approach the whole crypto, blockchain, Web3 spaces. It starts with there's three levels of it with a fourth. Okay, the three are yourself. Do you know yourself? Do you know what you want? Are you clear on your risk tolerance? There are some people that can tolerate far more risk than others, and there's nothing wrong with either one. If you stay aligned with who you are, you're going to have the highest probability of favorable results. So it's like yourself. Figure that out. And then you have other people. So, sure, you have a sound strategy, you have a sound business plan, you have a sound whatever. You got a sound business plan. You did all your homework, you made all the right decisions, you opened a restaurant, and then COVID hit. Like, okay. So at some level, we have to be able to examine, do I know myself? And even though the outcome was horrible, was it a bad decision? It may have been a great decision with a bad outcome. And if we don't have the ability to examine that, we're going to have an extreme outcome bias. So you opened a restaurant. You have all the projections, perfect area. It was actually a great decision. And then boom, COVID hit. Your brother put all his money in Dogecoin, and Elon Musk happened to tweet about it. So you lost everything. Your brother's filthy rich. Did he make a better decision than you? No. However, you could see how you'll start looking at your brother in this scenario, thinking like, man, he made a good decision. And now you start modeling his behavior. So you got to like look at yourself. Did I make a good decision? And then you got to kind of learn to navigate other people, especially think about social media, influencers, especially in crypto, where it's like they're putting on a show that is not reality. So you're comparing your reality to somebody else's show, and you have to start working through that. And then you have the universe. Like there are just better times to have certain skills uh, than others. Like there are times where you're born, you know, uh, with all the genetics to be a badass warrior, and you're trained to be a killer martial artist, and it's like the 1700s. That's probably going to serve you really well. In 2025, not so much. You still got to go get a job, you bum. And so it's like you got all these things to navigate. And if you don't start to get a handle on some of them, it's like you'll be permanently stuck in victimhood, which is why I no longer I don't even open Telegram anymore because it's just bad things happen, good things happen. Most of it is luck because very few people know what they're doing. And the people that get lucky, good luck, portray themselves as being really, really smart. And people that have bad luck uh, portray themselves as victims. And that's not a good dynamic. That is not, all these people think they're superheroes. All these people think they're victims. Now, what happens when you have a group of people that have this identity of, I'm a hero? And then you have a group of people that have this identity of, oh no, I'm a victim. Everything happens to me. Well, they find comfort in that identity. And the only way they can maintain it is to manufacture villains. Like I can only be a hero and rescue everyone if there's a villain. And I can only stay a victim if somebody's willing to rescue me. So you get this extreme version of Cartman's drama triangle. And in my opinion, the very first step of having the highest probability of consistent sustainable success in the crypto space is stepping out of that triangle, which Brandon's program does very, very well by giving you in a controlled environment to learn what's going on. The second, I'll touch on this real quick and then I'll pass it back. The second is humans, all of us, have a very difficult time measuring stuff. So maybe I know what I want and I have a job or a business or whatever, and I make okay money and I put it somewhere and I get a 4% return and I'm good with that. Like to me, that's good. And then I learn a strategy in crypto where I can get 12%. Is 12% on your money good or not? Well, if 4% is good, 12% is really good. And then we see a tweet or we hear somebody in our family said, I made a gazillion X. And now all of a sudden, 12% is not good. Well, 12% for you is either good or it's not. And so if you look at what somebody else has done and it makes your good not good, then you don't actually have an understanding of what you value. You're just influenced by what everybody else is doing in real time. So there's no like oasis of stability. There's no operating system from which to reason from or iterate and improve. And so you get a lot of that in everywhere, but crypto again is hyperspeed. You get a lot of people in a very good situation from FOMO, comparison, greed, move out of that good situation into one that is not good. And they're completely unaware that they're doing it. So there's like this, okay, you make this much in your job or your business or whatever. And if you could get this return consistently and reliably, that'd be a win. Well, that's true for you. Doesn't matter what I'm getting. Good for you is good for you. If I lose all my money or I make billions, it doesn't matter. Good for you is still good for you. And so it's that like level of sobriety and clarity that will protect you from some of the stuff that gets people in crypto now. It got people in the real estate crash in 2008, and it got people in dot-com bubble in what, 1999 or 2000 or whatever. It's a very human thing. Oh, look, new thing, way to make money. And everybody in all those situations had a great opportunity to improve their position, and watching other people claim to do better put them in a worse position and sometimes wrecks them. So it's like understand yourself. Understand you have to navigate other people. Understand the universe is just going to be shit sometimes. And other times it's going to be incredibly abundant. And we need to know, okay, that's the universe. When it's incredibly abundant, we like to uh, act as if it's our brilliance that created this abundance. And mid recession, when there's a lot of scarcity, we like to think that it was everybody else's fault. And in both scenarios, it's a combination of the three: you, other people, the universe. And if we can see that, it's like you build a sailboat and you stand in it. That's you. You want to go north, but the wind is blowing south, east. Now, because we understand that, that's okay. We can still go north because we learn, okay, wind's blowing that way, so I'm going to turn the sail this way and the jib this way and the rudder this way. And even though the wind is blowing southeast, I can still go north. And that's just understanding here's me, here's the boat, and here's these forces outside of my control. And if I understand them all, I can still go to where I want to go, regardless of what the forces outside of my control are doing. So it's that, just really understanding me, the tools, the universe, the forces outside my control. And yeah, if I got wind at my back, I want to go north and the wind is blowing north, I'll probably get there faster. Sure. But if the wind decides to go a different direction, that's okay because I took the time to understand how this works, how the wind works. And that's the skill that will help people get to where they want to go using crypto, using anything. But crypto's like you got the best sailboat. You could do it in real estate, you could do it in the S&P, you could do it trading commodities. People have. Look around. People have gotten where they want to go a million different ways. But crypto right now is like, okay, you got the nicest streamlined boat. You still have to know how to navigate the sail. You still have to know how to tie a knot. You just have to know the basics of how to get to where you want to go. So that's my observation is people are unaware of that. And so they just kind of go where the wind blows them. And they're
Yeah.
very susceptible to people selling them new boats. But it's like, yeah, it's not the boat, it's the wind. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, and I remember a while ago you telling a story about how, again, just observing what was going on. This was probably 3 or 4 years ago, and you were taking a look at the market and you were watching everybody go crazy over all the new meme coins that were jumping out, and people were like taking high risk gambles, winning big, losing big, winning big, losing big, and back and forth and back and forth. And then at one point you were like, hold on a second. Uh, guys, how many of you in retrospect would have been better off just buying ETH, holding it for a year, and then selling it at a profit? And that one really stuck with me because at the time I was also jumping in every possible meme coin or shit coin that was available, and I was trying to like hit it big. So I was definitely the gold miner, seeing, the one guy who hit it big mining gold. And instead of selling pickaxes to everyone else, I was like, oh, I'm going to go out and mine the gold and I'm going to win big too. And it was like a good slap in the face for me because I was like, oh wait, hold on. No, the way I'm doing this doesn't make sense for not only for profitability standpoint, but for like a lifestyle standpoint as well. Like I'm chasing more and more and more and more, going after all this stuff, chasing the hype rather than coming up with a clear cut, oh, if I make X percentage based on my starting capital, if I make X percentage per year for the next 10 to 12 years, I'm going to be set for life. And for me, it was that realization that not forced me, but kind of gently guided me to a different paradigm of what is possible in the cryptocurrency market. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the intention intervention gap, meaning like people have, they'll say they want a thing, they have a stated value, but then for whatever reason, humans being humans, we irrationally just like go off the rails and start doing things that are like out of alignment with what we said that we wanted in
Hmm.
the first place.
Oh boy, how much time do we have? Uh,
We're booked for an hour, but if it goes longer, I guess it goes longer.
I'll make if questions come in, I can make the time. So,
Cool.
all right, there's a couple things I'm just gonna fire hose to the face if that's okay, and
Yeah.
then we can sort through the rest. Is first caffeine. I'm gonna go way out of left field here. Caffeine. Caffeine is an adenosine blocker. It blocks your adenosine, so you don't feel tired, right? Uh, Antibiotics. Uh, People take antibiotics to get rid of whatever bacteria. Okay, these are things, just as examples, that have a benefit. And yet, you can't feel the benefits. In fact, you can almost never feel the benefits of anything useful. And yet, we want to. So, where I'm going with this is uh, people feel like they need more caffeine until they feel something. They feel it working. What you feel working is almost always a side effect. The main benefit you never feel. So if you do something chasing the feeling of it working, you are taking unnecessary risk. You're getting the benefit, but you're taking more risk that is necessary to get that benefit. So one of the reasons people can't sit and chill is they want to feel like they're making money. It's like they're trading. They could have just sat there, to your point,
Yeah.
on Ethereum, but it wouldn't have felt productive. So chasing feelings is the fastest way to blow yourself up and take something that could be medicine and turn it into poison. And so a lot of people are turning crypto into poison. They're saying, huh, it's a medicine. It can help me fund some of these things I want to do in the future. But they want to feel like it's working. So they look at a chart. They try to get creative. They abandon their core strategy, because this thing's going up really quick. And what they're looking for is the feeling of dopamine, of seeing the numbers go up. So just remember, uh, if you're trying to feel something, it's more likely to hurt you than help you, even if it's medicine. We all know that medicine can turn into poison in excess. And that's a lot of what happens is they want the feeling of, we've all had a good day in crypto and boy, did it feel good. And then we try to recreate it over and over and over again and blow ourselves up. So there's like the chasing the feeling. And uh, when you're chasing a feeling, you're taking a necessary risk. And oftentimes you can create a gap. Now, this intention intervention gap comes from a few different things. Uh, Intention intervention gap is the gap between what you say you want, what you say you're going to do, or what you say you've done, and what actually happened.
Mm.
So that is like at a macro level, I say, what's the most important thing to you? And you look at me right in the eye and you say, the most important thing to me is that I want to spend more time with my kids. And then I watch you and you keep doing things that cause you to spend less time with your kids. There's a gap. Now, the problem is we measure ourselves based on our espoused values and the outcome. We do not measure ourselves based on our actual behavior and the outcome. So, like what lever do you pull if you think of it like a scientific experiment? What variables do you change? The variables, there's two variables that you can change to close that gap. One, what you say. Maybe you don't actually want to spend more time with your kids and you just feel guilty for saying it. However, until you are honest about it, you can't improve anything. Or maybe you do want to spend more time with your kids and you're unaware that your behavior is getting you further away. So you either change your espoused values, what you say that you value, or you change your behavior. I don't care which one. I'm not here to judge you. I just want to help. And as long as that gap exists, it's like a big missing variable. It's like a multivariable equation missing a variable. It cannot be solved. So that's one, is they're just unaware of it. Two is not fully understanding a concept called system reliability. System reliability is simply what is the probability that you get the outcome you expect reliably. So I'll do this really, really quick here. System reliability is multiplicative. So it's a multiplication problem. It's the product of the reliability of all the components in the system. And nothing is perfect. We have to also understand that nothing is perfect, which means everything in our world is less than 100% perfect. That's important because when you multiply percentages or fractions, every variable you add, the product, the outcome goes down. It has to. So if 90% of the time I have paid my electric bill, like I'm trying to turn on the light, 90% of the time I paid the electric bill. 90% of the time the light bulb actually works. 81% of the time, right? 90% times 90%, the light will turn on when I expect it to. If I add another variable, 90% of the time I actually push the button, the right button. 90% of the time I've paid the electric bill. 90% of the time the light bulb works. That light will turn on 72.9% of the time. So even if you add equally reliable components, the total system reliability goes down. Now, uh, I share this in my book, which is when I first started my whole hardcore fitness journey forever ago. Dr. Trevor Kashey was one of my best friends, and I said, "Dude, he got his PhD in metabolic chemistry when he was 23." So I'm like, "Cool, you're a mad scientist. Give me like really advanced stuff. I want to get super jacked." He's like, "Yeah, drink a gallon of water every day." Like, dude, just give me the good stuff. I know you're a PhD in chemistry. Like, give me like, fancy food combinations. He's like, just drink a goddamn gallon of water every day, dude. And I was irritated, but whatever. So I came back a week later and I was like, cool, now give me the good shit. He's like, you drink a gallon of water every day. So, well, Monday through Friday, yes. Saturday, Sunday, yeah, I came close. He's like, cool, you did what you said you would do and what the system requires 74% or 71.4% of the time, 5 out of 7. If your car started 71% of the time you tried to start it, would that be acceptable? If your phone worked 71% of the time you needed to make a call, would that be acceptable? So on and so forth. And so we don't realize how horrible our behavior is compared to the plan. We would not accept if you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. every day this month and you miss 2 days, your brain goes, man, I did pretty good. But from no other technology in your life would you accept. Like if your electricity only worked, well, 2 days this month it didn't work. It's pretty good. No, you'd be pissed. So some of the gap just comes from not being able to measure our own behavior or realizing that, like, oh, Monday through Friday I was good. Saturday, Sunday I fell off the wagon, but it's still good. Like how do you expect this system, which you are a part of, everything you're doing, you're part of the system. How do you expect to get the outcome that you think you're going to get when we know for sure that one of the components in that system, which is you, is not reliable? And so that gap is sometimes your words are delusional. Like you you say you want something because you think you're supposed to want it, or somebody else told you you should want it, or it's just a thing you're comfortable saying out loud. Sometimes you do really want it, but you're unaware of your behaviors acting in opposition. And sometimes your words are on point and your plan is on point, but your behavior is not following the plan in any way that would be appropriate. So in those scenarios, uh, it's not appropriate to be dogmatic about the outcome. You can't, but we are, and then we end up back in victimhood again. So the trick is really to go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do next week, and then do your best to do it. And you won't, because nobody does, myself included. And we look and we say, okay, well, I didn't. I said I was going to exercise 3 times and I did. Great. I said I was going to eat only chicken and rice. And I had a couple, I went out and had some drinks. Then the question is, why did I have those drinks? So now we're looking back at ourselves again. Why didn't I follow the plan? What about me makes it so I can't follow this plan? Or, you know what? I'm just going to plan on having drinks. Either way, your plan, or sorry, the outcome more accurately reflects the plan, which means you can adjust the plan. And what we do is like, here's my plan. It's like a fitness plan. I don't know. And then we don't do it perfectly. We go, oh, that plan didn't work. And then we swap out the plan. And our behavior is exactly the same. And we just keep doing that. And we go, oh, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. It's like, well, actually, you don't know if that works or not because you didn't do it. So you're measuring the wrong thing and you're attributing the results to the wrong thing. So then we come to crypto, and it's like, how many people in your program are like, cool, I think I know myself really well. I don't want to get all caught up in it. I think I'm just going to set this and forget it and come back and look at it next month. And then they're just like, throughout the week, they start peeking at it. It's like, you're already, uh, there's an intention intervention gap. There's nothing wrong with peeking at it. You wanted to look at your investment is fine. The problem is the gap between what you believe you're doing and what you're actually doing. And that's kind of the game is identifying that and trying to close that gap. Even if that means you have a paper or you have a plan on paper that looks goofy, as long as it matches your behavior, then you can look at the piece of paper and the outcome and you're getting smarter. You're saying, okay, this leads to that. Got it. And you can iterate from there. So it's just a matter of fighting like hell to see the gap and close it. And if that, again, if that doesn't happen, you are completely, it's completely random. You'll think you're being intentional, but you're not. So whatever happens is random and it'll be very hard to repeat it. Uh, so the other way this, just to throw this one out there, is we are all guilty of this. Uh, we're all guilty of this. We're just trying to minimize it as much as possible. And that includes uh, people that position themselves as coaches and mentors and influencers. They can tell you, this is what I did to have this amazing outcome. And there's an intention intervention gap. What they're saying is not what they did. And it's not always intentional, but we should always look closer. Say, okay, those are your words, but what were your actions? And so the skill of identifying the gap will give you more power over the outcome. Can't guarantee everybody's going to get rich when they want. And I'm pretty sure we will all end up at various times in our life up shit's creek. If you can identify the intention intervention gap, at least you have a paddle. And that's the head. That's one of the hedges. The strategy, the farming strategy that Brandon deploys is, in my opinion, you get a better return than you can reasonably get in any traditional finance. Uh, there's a million ways to hedge, and then if you layer on this personal kind of development side of it, you have another hedge, which is cool. The gap is small between my words and my actions, my plan and my actions, which means I learned, which means I'll do better next time.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here because, being the host of the mastermind, all the time I come across people who will say, "Oh yeah, I'm totally fine with 50 to 100% per year. Like that sounds like a dream come true to me." And then we set everything up. You got your positions. We're checking on the daily yield, which you can then extrapolate out to an estimated yearly yield. And you go, "Great. You're actually at like 96% right now. You're on track. Like you have the thing that you wanted, which was a system that generates cash flow. It's extremely low maintenance. You don't have to do anything with it. And really, all you have to do now is kind of like sit tight and check in on it once a week. And inevitably, not 100% of the time, but very frequently, someone comes back to me 1 week later. "Okay, Brandon, now what do I do?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you do? Like, you already took all the actions that you needed to take. You told me you're cool with that percentage. You told me you wanted low maintenance. You said you didn't want to have to do extra things, but it's like, oh no, but maybe I can like get more if I do more." It's that whole, again, just natural human tendency is if I take more action, that will definitely multiply the thing. So if I took this amount of action and I get 92% APR, if I take double the action, I'll get 184%. But it doesn't work that way. In fact, more often than not, to your point, it works the opposite. You have everything set up, you're doing what you need to do. Very often, if you do more, you will hinder the original results that you were pursuing. But again, no judgment. It's not about like, oh, you have to want what I tell you to want. It's about if you claim to want the thing, either adjust the stated value, adjust what you're saying that you want, so that you can then evaluate. And if you say, hey, my priority is as low risk as possible, that's it, that's all I want. I want simple, I want low risk. You go, great. Go put all your life savings into Bitcoin and then do nothing for 20 years. How many people have the patience to do that? Probably nobody. But that would, at this stage, probably be the simplest and lowest risk play. But then someone says, oh no, I just want 400% APR on these pairs. I go, great. In order to get a 400% APR, you'll probably have to invest in Pepe the Frog. You'll probably have to invest in Fartcoin. Are you okay assuming more risk so that you can get that higher return? Some might say yes, some might say no. It's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of, are you willing, like you said, Nick, just to be honest with yourself and transparent with yourself and others and say, actually, I said I just want low risk. What I really want is 500% a year.
Yeah. So that's right. Like knowing yourself. That you got yourself, other people, the universe, and yourself is at the center. And so other people in the universe, it doesn't matter what they're doing if you can't even be honest with yourself about what the hell you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And so the problem is that's the hardest. It's so much easier to look out the window and be mad at everyone else than it is to look in the mirror and be honest. And like, yeah, I get it. It sucks. We've all had moments of realizing, like, wow, that's what I'm doing. And it hurts. It sucks. It's like, man, I suck. But it's worth it because now you start, you can break through the delusion and start getting to where you want to go. And just on that point is Fidelity released a study a couple years ago because they wanted to see like who are their best investors, what are the characteristics of their best investors. So they looked at everybody that managed their own Fidelity portfolio. The highest return, like by far, there's a like tier one. Wow, these guys are outperforming everyone. They were dead. The second tier, like, all right, these guys are pretty damn good. They're outpacing, most of the population here. They forgot they set up a Fidelity account. And so it's like, yeah. And then there's another article. You can all Google it later. Don't do it while you're on this call. But then when you get off, sure. Uh, can DCA beat God? And this research went out, and there's a ton of articles about it where they just said, what if I just DCA'd into all these different assets, Bitcoin, S&P assets, all this stuff, versus what happened if God was investing and bought the exact bottom and sold the exact top? And you go look at the data. DCA demolished perfect timing. And so it's like, yeah, it's imagine if Michelangelo carved David and he did the whole I didn't carve David, I just removed everything that wasn't David. And he looked and it was what it is. He's like, I think if I remove more, it will be better. No, there's a point where doing more makes it worse. Every artist knows that. Every athlete knows that. It's like, oh, well, I trained for 2 hours today and I got a little bit faster and I look a little bit better, so maybe I'll train for 4 hours. No, they don't do that because they're going to rip a hamstring and lose their career. So there's a point where doing more is a horrible idea. Uh, and that's another thing to like, you got to know yourself, you got to know the risk, you got to know the nature of what you're doing. And if you go back and say, wow, this progress is good for me, then it's good for you. So there is a very much Dr. Jeff Spencer, who's one of my dearest friends. He always says there's always enough time to fuck it up. It's like, hey, Jeff, I'm doing really good. Yeah, well, there's always time to fuck it up. And he's speaking to that. It's like the risk is push button, something good happens. Push button, something good happens. Thinking that if you just push it more good things will happen. Uh, and everything has its own, like, kind of the nature of it. If you're a pro athlete, you're really looking mostly at your body being held together. You're looking at injuries. If you're a fund manager, you're looking at risk, reward, hedge, expected value. And so every industry has its own way of uh, uh, sorting through this, but there is a point where the returns are not worth it. And it's different for each person. If you got $1 billion in the bank, you could throw $1 million at something that has like, well, it might be a shit coin to get run. Who cares? You got $1 billion in the bank. Like, Uh, if you got $100,000 in the bank and you want to put $100,000 into the same thing, it's way riskier for you. So again, you, other people, the universe, and it's hyper individualized. It should be hyper individualized.
Yeah, and it makes me think how one of the reasons that we do the avoiding scam session and foundations and sessions like this, the reason we do that before I actually outline the strategy is because I already know ahead of time there are two times when everyone is most vulnerable to a scam and also, a silly coin that doesn't work out that tanks to zero, like those kinds of things. There's two moments. The one moment, I think we're all aware of this, is like when I don't know what I don't know and I'm brand new and everything seems legit and I'm very vulnerable at that point when I know nothing. And the second time, and I've seen this happen, unfortunately, time and time again, the second time you're most vulnerable to those sorts of things and the scams and whatnot is after you've educated yourself and after you've taken the action that you need to take in order to set yourself up for success. Meaning, I educated myself, I got a mentor, I opened positions, we got all the security in line, like set everything up. Now here I am. It's the positions are generating cash flow on a daily basis. Right at that moment, after you've followed the strategy exactly as it's outlined, after you start creating cash flow, that's the moment when you're most vulnerable to a scam because exactly what you said, Nick, which is we want to do more. We want to take more action when more action is not necessary.
Well,
So, what?
the benefit, and I apologize for cutting you off there,
No, go
but
ahead.
I was writing this down and then you just like brought that up, which parlays into it perfectly. Uh, Not many people have been taught to see, process, and think about asymmetry. So yes, you get a big return and you want to do more. But the benefit of something like the dot-com boom, the real estate boom, this is obviously before the crash, and crypto right now, is the asymmetry. Why is that beneficial? It's not because you can make way more money, although that is possible. It's because you can make the same amount of money with less risk or more money with the same amount of risk. So if you would put $100,000 into something that you expect to get 10%, and then you find something that you expect to get 100% with the same kind of reliability, you know how much you put in there? 10,000. So what's happening is you have the same potential total return, but you're taking 1/10 of the bet. That's the benefit. So the second you take on more risk for more money, most of the benefits of the asymmetry go away. And nobody's like very few people are taught to see that. So the explosive upside is because it's not certain. The benefit is you can bet less. That's like you could take $100 and turn it into tens of thousands. And the brain says, well, that means I could take tens of thousands and turn it into many millions. It's like, yeah, but you just eliminated the benefit, right? And so, yeah, that's part of it is realizing, cool, I turned 10 grand into a million. Awesome. Not, ooh, how do I get the rest of them? How do I get a HELOC on my house and put more in? Like, no, you're taking them, you're turning the medicine into poison. Stop it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's if people can keep it top of mind that no, the benefit of crypto is I don't need to have as much in to get a big return. They're participating in the upside of crypto. If they have a little win or they have a big win, and that makes them leverage their whole entire life to try to repeat it, now it's poison.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that perspective because most people initially they see crypto and they think like, oh wow, 10x, 20x, like the massive returns. But really, the true asymmetry is no, actually, you can take way less risk than in any other asset class and get 30% and get 50%. numbers that for by crypto standards we would look at and be like, well, that's not very good. Like I'm over here getting all these crazy returns, but really it's an incredible turn return because you're swapping out a vast majority of the upfront risk and the amount that you have to put into the field to play with.
Yeah, exactly. And so, if nothing else, if people come away just thinking about that, uh, if I if you go, hey, this has 10 million X potential, it's like cool. I'll put $3 in.
Yeah.
I'll make 30 million.
Roll the
Awesome.
dice.
Yeah. So very little risk, huge upside. Awesome. Crypto's great. But if it's got 10 million X potential and I can't help it and I get a HELOC on my house and I take my kid's college fund, I do all like, oh my God, I'm going to destroy my whole life. So bigger upside means less investment necessary.
Yeah.
And if you violate that, you're not actually getting the benefits of crypto. You're gambling. And it says, there's that distinction. Is like, are you benefiting from the nature of crypto or are you gambling? Uh, and that's the key is how much risk am I taking personally? And again, $10 for me might be $1,000 for someone else. It's all relative. So I encourage everybody here to maintain that, to just think about that. Like, wait, okay, I think it's going to go a million X. Cool. Put $5 in.
Yeah.
Walk away with 5 million. Awesome. Like, practice restraint. Do not destroy your family. And that's hard. And that's where we see a lot of people get in trouble.
So we've got a few minutes left, and if anyone wants to drop a question in the Q&A, there were a few here already. Nicole has was asking what the first step of sustainable success. Second is humans have a hard time measuring stuff. I don't know if you remember what the context was there, Nick. She's asking what's the first step of sustainable success?
Knowing yourself.
Knowing yourself. There we go.
That's the first step of success in anything, in my opinion. Reliably. I mean, there's people that have success without having any idea who they are, but that's mostly luck, circumstance, et cetera, et cetera. So just work on being clear on who you are. You don't have to tell anybody else. You don't have to be embarrassed. I'm not going to judge you. Brand is not going to judge you. Uh, but that's step one.
Yanaki, where can I watch the replay? For everyone who registered, we send the replays out via email. They're available for 24 hours after the live sessions. Reason, of course, is not that we want to withhold anything, but we want to encourage everybody to uh, follow along and stay up to speed because it's human nature to say like, oh, I'll catch all 7 replays a week from now. We already know no one's going to do that. Okay. So we're saying, okay, we'll give you the replay, but it's available for 24 hours. If you're serious about like following along, you'll find an hour each day because this is like, a concentrated uh, training course that is to everyone's benefit to stay up to speed on a daily basis. So good. Thank you. Yep, Joe, you're welcome. Harry, this is incredible. Already learning a load more about myself. Awesome. Always good to hear. And if anybody else, we got some time. So now's the time. Don't be shy. Ask a question, drop a comment, give some feedback. If there's nothing else, we'll just kind of jam for a couple more minutes.
I'm sure this was covered previously. I haven't caught up on the previous calls. Uh, and nobody, I was hoping somebody would do it here so I could just uh Joseph Robertson. Fuck that guy. Uh
There's a few people who it looks like they're Joseph and they're not. I don't know if that's the real Joseph or not.
oh, okay. Well, never mind then. I assume Joseph has access to the replays. So we on these calls, I'm just gonna throw this out there. One of the most popular questions in crypto is what should I buy? And I'm telling you right now that is the worst question to ask. Uh, Even if it works, which it almost never will, uh, you have learned nothing. You don't know how to repeat it. Like you don't know why you bought it. Like I would personally never ask anybody what should I buy. which nobody did here. So that means either you already addressed it or you just got a uh, good crew of people. But that you're going to be just tell me what to buy. No, don't ever ask that question. I
I
mean,
liken it to in the fitness world when people say, "Well, what's the best workout?" It's kind of it's the same type of question
mhm.
where you go, "That's it. That question doesn't even make any sense. We don't know. It depends on 12 different variables."
Yeah, the number of people that because I have the assets I like. Most people know my favorites. But I don't even go there. So if somebody says, "Hey, should I buy Bitcoin? Do you think Bitcoin's a good idea?" I remember last time I actually responded to this, I said, "I think Bitcoin's great if you're willing to wait." He bought Bitcoin at 35 grand, and then like every 4 days was panicking, texting me, "Should I sell it? Should I sell it? Should I sell it? Should I sell it?" I said, "I don't care what you do, dude. Tell you what, next time it hits 35 grand, get your money back, leave me alone." And so he hit 35 grand, he sold it, left me alone. And now it's what, 100 something? Uh, but that's what happens. I'm more mad at myself for responding to the question. Uh, if you say, "Hey, what should I buy?" and you don't fully understand what to expect and the nature of the asset, you're just setting yourself up to be a victim. And he was. And so just not a good question. I'll ask the question here. I'll read it. You were writing about fitness. I lost where it was. Uh, do I still contribute to it? Well, I own the publication. I haven't had the bandwidth to write much about it. Commandment One. It's free. There's nothing. Nobody sells anything on there. Commandment1.com. Yeah. So not crypto related, but figured I'd answer it.
Yep. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we can wrap it up for today. And I'll tell you all in advance tomorrow is strategy day. So remember, principles, frameworks, strategies, tactics, tools. Day one, I did a little demo, a 2-minute demo of the tactic and the tool. Told you don't go do this yet, and you've seen why now because we had to lay some other foundations in place first. But then tomorrow, we're going to get right in the middle there, right at the strategic level, and I'm going to show you here's how the whole process works. But now we have context. Now we understand why the strategy is what it is and why it is set up in that way. If I just said, here's the strategy, it would be interesting, but we would be missing a lot of key components and context for that. And there's really no other way but to kind of, as we've been doing, slowly and systematically going through all of these considerations. So I am going to show you that tomorrow. And then as we go further, I am going to show you the tactics and the tools, but I'll just caution you today and tomorrow and the next day, don't go dive in right away. Basically, exactly what Nick just said. If you say, "Hey, what should I buy?" and someone says Bitcoin and you go buy it, you're saying, "Hey, I'm willing to wait 5 years," and then every 4 days you're freaking out. Most of us will do some version of that at some point where we say, "Hey, great, Brandon taught me the strategy. I'm going to go put it into play right away." And then you're coming back a day later going, "Well, what now?" I'm like freaking out about it. No, it's a strategy that, yeah, it takes a little bit of time to set up. And that's where the tactics and tools come in, is to like implement the strategy. But then really the main benefit of it is a long-term patient investor mindset and low maintenance, meaning you don't have to take a ton of action for it to keep working. But that assumes that you understand why you built it the way that it's set up, like you understand why you built it that way. That's what we're going to be reviewing tomorrow.
There's
So,
there's one question here if you want to address it or not, doesn't
oh,
matter.
cool.
From Tavia. Uh, she's asking what resources do I personally
Oh, yeah.
utilize for personal development market strategy. Um, Not going to be a popular answer, but I'll tell you because it goes back to knowing yourself. I read a lot. I read a ton, and frankly, I don't learn much from books. I just like reading. Uh, but I read most of the stuff when I read it and I share it and I talk about a lot of stuff I talked about today. This stuff was published in like the 50s. So I like to read stuff. The older, the better, because I'm looking for a universal principle,
Hmm.
not temporary tactic that works in 2020. And so for me, for personal development, uh, I'm very, very good friends with Dr. Jeff Spencer. I have a grand master of a 4,200-year-old lineage, and I'm big on plugging in directly to the source and getting my ass kicked. So even way back 10 years ago, I told you the story about Dr. Trevor Kashi, is I am open, and I think this is the best way to do personal development. Uh, I am open. Like, if you recognize the intention intervention gap, if I say this and I do something different, please punch me in the face and tell me about it. So that's the best way, in my opinion. Uh, and most people won't do it because they get all triggered when people call them out. Uh, so I surround myself with people that will let me call them out and they'll call me out. And it's like 24/7. If you act like an asshole, somebody tells you. And then for me, it's like my grandmaster. One time he came to one of our events, and afterwards he pulled me aside and he pointed at me and said, "You need to fucking stop it." And my initial response was like, "Fuck you, old man." And then 20 minutes later, it's like, "Oh man, he's right." So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of like, I get triggered and defensive, and then like, ah, crap, he's right. Uh, for market strategy, assuming you mean investing and all that, I have a very unique strategy. It's very, very personal to me. So it's not, I, 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 I invest in things that I can directly contribute to. And if I can't directly contribute to it, then I just have somebody else invest for me. So that's like my marketing and business strategy is my market strategy because I put all my money in stuff that businesses, crypto projects, etc., that I believe in as a project. And I believe in it because I generally have insight that is not publicly available. So that's not a great strategy to teach. Yeah. So that's otherwise I have other people do it for me. I don't do this now, but I will when I have the bandwidth. I'll say, hey, I'll just get a team member, plug them into the patient investor and say, follow, here's some money, follow Brandon's strategy. And I'll never even look at it or think about it for all the reasons I just said.
And then Scott will check in on the position tomorrow. It continues to be just the same level, so there's nothing new or fancy about it, but we will check in on it in subsequent days. And then at the end of the week, we'll check in again. And I mean, I don't know what the exact number is going to be, but I'm going to probably be able to say, see, it fluctuated a little bit like we all thought it would. And here's what the estimated yearly APR is. And it will likely be somewhere in that 50 to 100% range. But again, I don't know exactly because we're just taking a little slice of time. We're just taking a 1 week, which can give us a pretty accurate estimate, but it's not always like reflective of the exact actual yearly return. All right. Well, thank you everyone for. Oh, wait, we got one more here. Love the event. Appreciate the perspective. Thank you. Always glad to hear your wisdom, Nick. Great. So, thanks everyone who joined us live here today. Got a couple more sessions coming up. We are going 7 full days, so we're going through the weekend, and Sunday actually will be the final day of this whole live online summit that is basically the 7 day accelerator. So, um, have a good one, and I will see you all again tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. We'll see you there.
Cool. Appreciate you.